Well, everybody, it's been almost 6 months, I think March of 2023, since I did my initial Tool Time Challenge for everybody out there. And today is episode number 2. I've put together 5 different tools from my shop that I'm hoping you're going to be able to identify. Now, as before, the tools will get progressively more difficult to identify, at least in my opinion. You may not have much challenge with them, but for me, I kind of thought the order that I place these in is perhaps the most challenging for most people. Now, each tool has a certain point value, and I'll refresh your memory again. The first tool, 1 point, second tool, 2 points, third tool, 3 points, fourth tool, 4 points, and for the fifth tool, we'll make that 6 points as a little bit of a bonus. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first tool. The first tool, I actually have 2 examples of because they're slightly different, but they do the same function. These are going to fall in what I would class the automotive or power sports related field. Now, each one of them looks like a set of pliers here, and both of them open and shut. They have a bunch of different moving parts. The blue one almost has little mandibles up here, and they stretch apart. The red one has a pair of anvils that come down, and then it stretches apart. So what do you think these are for? It could be anything. It could be for opening walnuts. Could be for pulling nose hairs. Tell me what you think these are. The next tool that I've got here could be classified in the metalworking or possibly the woodworking categories. If you take a look at it, it looks like a top, a toy top for a kid, but it just will not spin like that. It's got this conical tip, and it has a hole that's drilled through it at, I don't know, maybe a 45-degree angle. On this end, it has a straight rod like that, which could be gripped by something. But you tell me what you think this is, and let me know in the comments down below if you get it right. Here is tool number 3. I would classify this into the metalworking category. Now, on quick review, you're going to see that it is some kind of wire brush. It has very, very short, stiff bristles. It's about 1.5 inches wide by about 3 inches, forming a rectangle on a flat wooden base. So don't tell me that this is a wire brush. I know it is, but it has a very specific purpose in metalworking. Now, even though nowadays, it's very popular to have mustaches and beards, it is definitely not any kind of a beard brush. It definitely has a role as a tool in your shop. So give me your best guess on this. This next tool might be a little bit obscure. I don't even know if this is still for sale nowadays, but it is a good tool if you can find one used or if they still make them and you could find them. It's made by Bosch, it says right on there, and it looks like some kind of a handle. It rattles a little bit when you shake it. It's got this big dial up front, and on the bottom it's got some kind of a trap door there that opens and closes. It's an interesting tool. It's one that I don't use too often, but occasionally it does come in handy. I would put this in the woodworking category, but it could also be used in metal fabrication if you use it in the right way. What do you think it is? All right, tool number 5 is a tool that I think may stump some of you out there. This is in the home electrical category. So you would use this somehow in wiring up your house or electrical panels, things like that. So there's a big hint. This is made by Channel Lock, and it is a set of pliers. that you can see here, but it has this very, very unusually shaped tip up here. And it is specifically designed for one purpose. But when I tell you what it is, I think there's another purpose for this if Channel Lock really wanted to develop it a little bit more. Let me know what you think in the comments. Well, how did you do? Let's start by looking at the first tool, which are these pair of pliers here, and I'm sure many of you guessed already what these are. These are used for stripping wires, and they can be used for home electrical wires, but I tend to use them out here in the shop for stripping 12-volt wires. The blue one here is self-adjusting, so you basically take your wire like this, you place it inside the jaws, and when you squeeze, it pulls off the coating or the electrical insulation and leaves you with a nice clean wire. The red one has specific slots for the different gauges of wire. It works equally as well, but I do find I use the blue one a little more often now, just because it self-adjusts, and it has a few more features. This one has a wire cutter, and it has some crimpers built into it, even though I use a different set of crimpers. It works very, very well. It has this adjustable stop here that you can move in and out to get consistent length on your wire. So if you have a specific length of exposed wire that you want, you can simply push in or out on that adjustment. So that's tool number one, wire strippers. What do you think tool number two is? Well, tool number two is a countersink or a chamfering bit to use in either metal or wood. You basically chuck it up inside your drill or your drill press, and after you bore a hole through, you can come in with this tool and put a nice chamfer on the inside of the hole, smoothing it out, or if you want to go in deep enough, you can use it to recess fasteners such as wood screws. Like I said before, I use this in my wood shop, and primarily that's what I bought these for. You can pay lots of money for these, or you can buy, as I did, cheap ones. The cheap ones, unfortunately, don't last all that long in steel, but because I use them primarily either on aluminum like this or wood, the inexpensive ones seem to last a long time. And you usually buy these in sets of 4 or 5, which I have, and they give you different sizes for different size holes. They're a handy tool to have, they're reasonably priced, and if you have a shop like mine, they're a great thing to have to finish off your work as you go. So that's tool number two, a chamfering or countersink bit. How are you doing so far? You doing okay? Let's take a look at tool number three. What is that? That's that wire brush that I told you isn't really used for brushing hair. This is what's known as a file card, and it has a very specific purpose in that it's used to clean debris out of files as you use them. So files can get sort of contaminated or plugged up with different materials as you file them. These file cards are designed to stroke down along the file and clean out any captured metals or materials that are held within the file grooves themselves. It helps to keep your files nice and sharp, stops them from skipping, and it's something that you probably should have in your shop like this if you do any kind of metal work. That's tool number three, a file card. This brings us to tool number four, the one that I'm not even sure if they still make anymore, and it's made by Bosch. And what this is it is a tool handle, and it's a tool handle designed specifically to hold T-slot jigsaw blades, or it can actually hold Sawzall blades to make a small handsaw. The rattling that you heard is a storage area to hold these jigsaw blades. This one's a particularly aggressive one. But you basically just insert it up into the top, twist the handle, and it gives you a very small, short, aggressive hand saw that you can now use to get into tight spots. I often use this for drywall or for getting into tight spots for woodworking, but you can put a bimetal blade in here and cut metal in really tight spots. It's a handy little tool, and if you can find one, it's worth picking up for a reasonable amount of money. Like I said, I don't use this very often, but when I need it, it's one of those tools that's indispensable. Now, Bosch is not the only one that makes these. There are other people out on the market that do. This just happens to be the one that I have. And again, you can even put in longer Sawzall blades to make it even more effective. It's a good tool. It's a T-slot jigsaw blade handle from Bosch. All right, I hope you're doing really well at this one. The last tool is these pliers from Channel Lock, and they are number 960 pliers, and these are specifically designed for one purpose, and that is to tighten the lock nuts on electrical conduit boxes, junction boxes, things like this, where you put the strain relief on, and oftentimes they're using just a screwdriver and a hammer to tighten these lock rings. These pliers are designed specifically to match up with those lock rings and either loosen or tighten them as needed in really tight locations, especially where you don't want to miss a strike on a screwdriver and perhaps hit a conductor or something like that. I have these because I sometimes do a little bit of electrical work in the shop. I got a good price on them. But as I was using them, I got thinking, these probably, if Channel Lock made these a little bit bigger, would probably work on preload rings on suspension components. Like, you could reach in and sort of tighten these up the same way in which you do here on these lock rings. It's very similar technology. They might end up being too large to do that, but I thought, boy, oh boy, that'd be a really cool thing if they could do it. But that is tool number 5, electrical strain relief nut pliers from Channel Lock. How did you do on today's test? Did you get all 5 tools or did you miss a couple? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know if I showed you some tools today that you think you might be picking up for your shop. It'll help me to know if I should continue doing videos like this and making content like this, or if you're really not too interested. If you do like the content, by all means, please leave a comment saying you do, and you can always like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help me to understand if I'm on the right track here with all this stuff. And again, it helps YouTube to know that other people might be interested in Dino's Tinker Shed. Until then, I'm going to put all this stuff away, maybe get ready for the next video, and I hope that you tinker easy. Bye for now.